Welcome to this episode of the BYOD podcast, Bring Your Own Direction. Today with a little bit of different episode. So it's Monday, direct after Team 25 in Barcelona. And in this episode, I want to do a recap. I will explain you all the details. I will include you in the discussions, what happened in the conference rooms and in the expo hall. And I had a chance to have an interview with Alex and Rodney on the last days to get their impressions, their feelings, and their emotions about all the amazing announcements. So stay tuned for this amazing Team 25 recap. It was clear from the beginning that Atlassian will have a lot of AI announcements. And they framed the whole conference with a big buzzword next to opportunity. That was, I would say, the second biggest buzzword, with the AI system of work. And nearly every feature, every workflow, every demo, what they showed was somehow paying into this direction. System of work powered with AI. What it means, we will come to this later. We will start with first a super obvious point, especially for long-term customers and European-based customers, but also customers who are working in more security-related industries. And so to summarize, all customers who are on data center. So the big announcement came 2-3 weeks before Team 25 in Barcelona happened. I wrote already an article about this. I will link it here in the description. The end of life of data center was announced 4 weeks ago. So what does it mean? The whole program is called Ascent. So for a lot of customers, it means having a relatively hard project in a hard time frame. I mean, it was clear. It was written on the walls already that on some point Atlassian will announce the end of life of data center. So what was not so clear that they are taking the exactly same time frame what they used in the server end of life, 3 years, and they're adopting this to the data center end of life. So means from March next year, customers have 3 years time to find a way how they could migrate to cloud, to governance cloud, or isolated cloud, or complete different systems. So this is especially for bigger organizations, and I wrote it already in the article, a relatively hard time frame. There are organizations outside who could theoretically move into the cloud. They may be just waiting for some certifications from Atlassian, or they started already with a project, but their project timeline is more measured in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years or longer. Bigger organizations have queues and hundreds or thousands of projects. And to be fair, for a lot of organizations who are not using Atlassian to 100% every day and every minute, it is maybe sometimes just a wiki system or still a task management tool. And for them, it's potentially a hard step to now squeeze in an additional complex project from migrate from data center to cloud. So my personal opinion is it was clear it will come. Is the timeline good for all these now still on data center customers, which are mostly complex, or they need time, or they have security regulations and so on? No, I personally don't think so. I think Atlassian would have done it better with a little bit of longer timeline. I mean, I also, don't get me wrong, I also understand the Atlassian point. So when they give a timeline or a deadline in 10 years, then everybody will start to act in 9 years. We all know how it is with deadlines. But 3 years is way too short. And I think there are not good answers yet for a lot of questions that these organizations can start their process with their stakeholders, managements, and budget decision makers. Because we have things like governance cloud announced, but it will come for US first. So how the solution looks like for European customers, there are still a lot of question marks on it. Isolated Cloud was announced at Team 25 in Anaheim with just a short announcement without a lot of details. We got now more details on Isolated Cloud, how it's structured, what is isolated, what are still global capabilities like billing, for example, which totally makes sense to have not a separate billing engine for Isolated Cloud. But the rumors, what I heard so far, is that there's still not one customer on the Isolated Cloud. Also, pricing for Isolated Cloud, you search on Atlassian websites at the moment without a success. So to start a project to migrate from data center to cloud would mean for a lot of customers in Europe, United States, or Asia Pac that they need all these information now to start the project, to discuss it with their stakeholders. And a lot of things are missing here. And that makes it difficult to start the project now. So the combination of this short timeline, missing information, a lot of question marks, was a little bit the emotional side note in the Team 25 Expo Hall, next to a lot of positive mentions and emotions and discussions. But especially in Europe, we met a lot of data center customers, and they are somehow in the middle of, yeah, I'm happy now because now I have more pressure to my stakeholders. Also to the point, okay, I'm totally pissed off because I don't know how we should do it, who should finance this, and so on. So it means keep in mind, important dates are here. March next year, it's a last possibility to, or February, March is a last possibility to buy new data center licenses. Then in March 2028, there will be the end of selling data center licenses, so means renewals and so on. And the end of support is 28th of March in the year 2029. Atlassian highlighted a lot of solutions to accelerate the process. Our customers, to name it here, it's Fast Shift, which sounds for me like a migration program delivered from Atlassian, and also solution design acceleration, so means blueprints, how customers can go from data center to cloud. It makes totally sense from Atlassian perspective. I'm sure it will be challenging for a lot of customers, like the migrations were challenging in the last years, but it shouldn't be a total surprise. These all, what I mentioned already, is had announcements to the government cloud, which I call it governance cloud in the beginning, so it's government cloud. Government cloud was also announced on previous conferences already. There were a little bit more details for delivery possibilities and so on. And Isolated Cloud, which will be a single tenant deployment, and this will be available in 2026. So nobody knows exactly what it will cost at the moment and how it will be delivered and so on. I think the interesting part for Isolated Cloud for customers who are completely regulated is how it's really delivered. So we have also a lot of customers who are where I can't see at the moment how they will migrate to cloud because they have simply too many regulations. For example, that all support engineers who are supporting also the platform need to be based in the actual country or need to have a security check from the company because they're working with, I don't know, military stuff, for example. I expect there will be a percentage of, sorry that I call it like this, leftover customers who can't migrate to cloud, where Atlassian will find on some point a solution. The official statement is at the moment that the data center instances will go on read-only. I expect that things will happen like Microsoft did it in the past, that for specific use cases, special situations, maybe Atlassian will have some exceptions in the future on a really, really late point for not taking the pressure away that these customers move to cloud, and then maybe they're getting an exception for 1 to whatever more years. So that's maybe a solution. Is it good as a customer at the moment? Can you bet on it? No, for sure. Can you build still a business out of the data center stuff and so on? I mean, we got also requests from customers already if we are supporting data center our data center apps after the official end of life. To be honest, we don't know it yet. It's hard to support a product which somehow has a lot of things in Atlassian and is depending on Atlassian stuff when you support a product on an Atlassian platform and this one is not maintained anymore. You can imagine it could be difficult to maintain our product. So that's definitely a question also for nearly all marketplace partners, solution-based partners, for everybody in the ecosystem. It is not the case anymore that you could create a sustainable business on this. But this was, I think, way clear before. We had also some sad moments. I met 2 solution partners and consultants who created super special solutions for data center mergers and so on. They are really closing the business. So I met 2 guys who explained they're finishing now 1 project and they will close the business relatively soon. So means it also shuts down businesses. So what is also new next to the government cloud and isolated cloud? It's units. You definitely should check it. I hadn't the chance to check the details. What it is, it should help large enterprises to split their organization in isolated segments of separate users. How it will look like, I don't know it yet. What I understood, it's a split of separate users, separate directories, also separate AI models. I will come to this point later. So that you have somehow creating silos again. I mean, the whole conference was for somehow avoiding silos or how you can merge data and so on. But the reality is there are a lot of organizations outside which are maybe a shared organization in a holding or whatever, but customer data shouldn't flow from one organization to another, but they maybe want to work on one organization from an Atlassian perspective. And units for this will be really cool. It sounds good. I don't know exactly how it works. As soon we know it, I will create separate videos for it because that's also super important and super interesting for our new user management and license optimizer app for Atlassian organizations. So give it a try. It's also the sponsor of this actual episode, and I'm wearing the shirt that I have now, a deactivator app. Okay, so, but back to topic. Units, definitely check it when you are a big organization. So I also asked Alex and Rodney to the data center staff, and these were their voices to it.
Ascend is very much big in the news.
Yeah.
And the one question that I had not seen addressed and was not addressed during the keynote or anything is very much the why now?
Yeah.
It's not a surprise that this was coming. If anyone was surprised this the announcement came, they have not been paying attention to the past. I mean, I talked about this 3 years ago when I said Atlassian was very much abandoning their data center customers and leaving them with no improvements. I mean, yeah, they're doing security and all this stuff and some admin stuff, but there's not been user improvements in 3 years. The only mention DC has gotten in a keynote was Rovo can now connect to it. That's the only announcement DC has gotten in 3 years. This is not a surprise. But why go through all that and just now announce it?
So yeah, as you can see, Rodney is somehow emotional about, a little bit frustrated about the timeline because he agrees to my previous point that now we have all the complex big ones and so on still on data center, and they somehow need to refactor, restructure their systems. Again, check out our user manager app on data center and on cloud. It can massively help to structure definitely the user numbers and the user count to maybe get some savings or better organization of all this in your future cloud instance in Atlassian. So let's leave the data center, government cloud, and isolated cloud and unit stuff for a moment. So let's call it segment 1. Let's go to segment 2. Segment 2 is Rovo. Rovo AI, search, chat, studio, and agents. So we got already in Anaheim 6 months ago a first idea what Atlassian is doing with studio, how they name agent, what is different with the chat, and what is the stuff with the search. So most of the announcements on the AI part felt like the next natural step from Atlassian. So when I was in Anaheim, the whole Rovo stuff and so on sounded, all the announcements sounded like how Atlassian should have created AI in Atlassian from the beginning. I mean, most people remember AI or Atlassian started more than 2 years ago now, nearly, or 1.5 years ago, with Rovo AI stuff and so on. It was separate charged in the beginning. It started with over $20 per user in the lower tiers. It hadn't worked really well out. Atlassian said over 1 million users tested it after a year. But then in Anaheim, they announced Rovo is available for every Atlassian user in Enterprise and Premium. The new announcement now, it will be also available in Standard from now on, and the rollout for this starts. Availability of Rovo is an interesting point. They also announced there will be apps, Rovo standalone apps for desktop, so means for, I assume, for Mac, Windows, and so on, and also for mobile. The interesting point is here that Atlassian also, with this rollout, also want to provide an additional license for users who don't have an Atlassian license. They can use Rovo AI with, it's written in one article, $5 per month per user. So as I understand it so far, this is not for existing customers or new customers who have somehow a user licenses for Jira, Confluence, and so on. Rovo Search. Rovo Search Engine was already for a while now in Confluence for AI and Rovo customers. It will come also to Jira now and will be the standard search in Jira. I think that's an interesting point. The search and experience will change in 2026. Atlassian mentioned that over 78% of the users gave the feedback that the Atlassian search, so Rovo search, outperforms other tools in the search experience. And they also mentioned that they connect to over 50 other SaaS apps, and these results are then in the search result. I mean, the backbone for all this is a teamwork graph, which is an amazing idea to put all the informations together. They shared huge, massive numbers of how many connections, relationships Atlassian already created between data points. I played a little bit around this year with a teamwork graph, tested also these connections. They are cool on a lot of points. They have also downsides. I mean, it's amazing to have in the search also the results from HubSpot, for example. But Teamwork Graph is not getting all the HubSpot information, just a subset, let's say the base information. So for additional informations, you need an app. I mean, we provide, for example, a HubSpot app, which gives the possibility to have all objects in Jira and Confluence. But this is still, from a user perspective, a splitted user experience, I would say. And it is now, and there were also a couple of technical announcements, it's now possible for app vendors also to put more stuff in the Teamwork Graph, which will be then available in Rovo Search. We need to check how it goes. So I'm a fan of Rovo Search, but not the biggest fan so far. I think all these stuff looks amazing when you have relatively clean Jira and Confluence instances, which are prepared exactly for a demo. But the reality is that you have thousands of documents, 100,000 of documents. I met a customer last week. They said they have over 50 million Confluence documents. And when you put a search on this, you need to be really good in finding the stuff, the search and so on. And at the end, the teamwork graph could create relationships between objects and also different relationships. But I think it's still challenging for an AI tool to figure out what is the newest version, what is the newest version for this person, for the persona. So let's say HR policy, for example, what's the newest version for Björn based in Germany when he wants to check the vacation days. So when you're in a global organization, you have hundreds of these different HR policies per countries. You have individual working contracts and so on. So let's bring all the stuff together. Is it in theory possible that Rovo Search easily find the stuff? Yes. Will it be practically work? Hopefully, yes. What I saw so far, I was not super expressed, let's say it like this, or surprised. It worked better as Confluence searches before, for sure. But we will see. And at the end, Atlassian went super bold with a teamwork graph on it. But when you check it with tools like from Google, the Agent Workspace, what they are doing as an enterprise search capability through a lot of different applications, they are also really, really good. And I think that's an amazing positioning from Atlassian. And the videos looks amazing. The slides looks amazing for Rovo Search. But now they need to prove that they deliver. And I think that's the hardest part here, how it will work in real environments on a day-to-day use. Rovo Chat, Rovo Studio, Rovo Agents, all the stuff together. A couple of announcements around that. I think the most interesting one is Rovo is getting skills now. And skills is for me the translation MCP capabilities. So it means Rovo can be connected to MCP servers. This is a big thing for all AI large language models in the last couple of months, or nearly years now. I think not years. It started in April, March, I think this year with the MCP capabilities. This is amazing. That was a missing point. For me, the interesting point is how will it work with the teamwork graph? So I have an Rovo agent who has access to all the information in the teamwork graph. So let's say this is somehow the pre-trained training. Then it gets additional skills. You have a little bit data. Let's take the example again from HubSpot. In the teamwork graph, you give also additional HubSpot skills capabilities that it can search for more objects, etc. How is this harmonized? Skills are amazing. And they're looking on a first glance also super amazing. And when you create tests and experiments with that, MCP servers are also super good. But the reality is also in a day-to-day use, you need to know what you do. Because especially the access, the request to an MCP server capability is eating up super quickly context windows from large language models or agents. So it means every request leads on some point to more hallucination, especially when you ask relatively big things. So I'm really looking forward how this will work. Teamwork graph combination, skills combination. Rovo has now also an in-chat Canva mode that when you ask, for example, or the Atlassian use case was here, Rovo, please send out an email to person XYZ. So Rovo had on this point the email capabilities via a skill. And they also implemented a Canva function that after the first draft from Rovo, you could adjust specific part or rephrase specific sentences. So it means, to summarize this, in chat Canva, super interesting, over 100 skills, super interesting. 100 sounds big. I hope these are 100 different MCP servers and not the capabilities and skills, because I know a couple of MCP servers, they have alone 30, 40, 50 skills. But it looked impressive. I can't wait to test this. Rovo got also additional things in pre-built agents. So Rovo Service, Rovo HR stuff was displayed as pre-built capabilities and automations behind it. Also Rovo Ops, Rovo Dev is now there for creating Forge apps. So a lot of different Rovo things. It was hard to follow without really playing around with the stuff. All the videos and slides and so on looked impressive. It sounds impressive. I can't wait to test it. You definitely should give it a try. But let's check here what Alex and Rodney think about this stuff.
And in my opinion, it's almost opposite of yours. I think right now people use ChatGPT, Claude, and they try to do things to help them with their workflows in Jira.
Yeah.
But there's so much hallucination in these tools that it's almost useless.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it's helping like a typical project manager or a scrum master be more effective. Right? At least when the context of help me do something in the tool. Right? And I think Rovo is supposed to bridge that gap. But I also don't think that people have put the mindset yet of having that personal assistant that actually does know Jira and knows their tools. And I think it's not appearing to be as just click here and things will happen. You have to go build agents. You have to go do that canvassing and edit them and modify them and tweak them. And Rovo knows how to do something this small if you tell it this precise.
Yeah.
And I don't think people are that precise with what they want to do. So I think there's going to be a huge learning curve and a learning curve of time that people just like, I'll just do it manually. This is not their day job, is to figure out Rovo. So Rovo just needs to work like that. Immediately out of the box.
Yeah.
So as you can see, Alex is a little bit skeptical here, about all the experience of hallucination, and we all experience this, especially for people who work super heavy with AI, that depending on what your request is, how big the request is, how many stuff you include, MCP servers or skills, documents, whatever, lead relatively quick to hallucinations, and large language models are really good in answering confident that, yes, this is the answer. And when you then check it, you say, no, that's definitely not the answer. It's completely the other way around. So Alex is here a little bit more skeptical, and I share his skeptical view on this, because so far I tested Rovo a couple of times in our environments, in our test environments. And what I had when I asked for a PRD document, it created to me together this PRD document. I tested over a year Rovo against ChatGPT in creating these PRD documents. It overall works. The result is fine. It's good to use and so on. But then when I asked Rovo to, hey, please now structure this in multiple Jira issues, when it went a little bit more complex, that and maybe in some 10 Jira issues would be the result, then Rovo give me the explanation how I can do it by myself. And that's not what I want. I want that the agent creates then more than 3 Jira issues at a time and also can properly understand JQL. So these are my major tests always with Rovo. Can you really look for the right stuff? Find issues in the marketing project and use the right marketing project, maybe not the one from 2024 or 2023. No, use this from this year. And it's not complicated to figuring this out, because there need to be activities somehow in the project. And doing all these JQL stuff, putting stuff together, reading the things and so on without hallucination will be the challenge. We need to check this. But let's check what Alex and what they think more about this.
I think permissions in general today without AI is a really big mess.
Yeah.
You run into so many restricted Confluence pages, so many spaces that you can't get into.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Rovo is blinded to whatever you can see.
Yeah.
So if you can't go do the research yourself, Rovo is going to be able to go do research for you, but you're not ever going to have the full picture, because nobody in any company ever does. There's too many silos, too many protections. too many like confidentialities, too many need to knows for Rovo to be useful. I think Rovo is going to be too blindsided to be as effective as Atlassian. I don't think companies work as open as Atlassian thinks they do.
So it means that you're more skeptical on this.
Very skeptical. I'm not putting any money in Rovo just yet.
Okay.
I see the vision. The vision isn't here yet, to be clear. Alex is absolutely on point that the vision is not here yet. But I do see the vision. I do see that way they want to go. And while they're not here yet, I do think it is within possibilities. But what he's saying is absolutely risk, because there are a lot of companies that trust second. They don't trust their own employees. They don't trust teams. They want to keep secrets. And this builds those silos. This causes that pain where you can't see everything you need to see.
Yeah, not to mention, I think it's going to have a reverse effect for two reasons. One, I think it's going to discourage people or unencourage people to not document. Because the moment you document, it now becomes part of Rovo. So anybody else can potentially do your job.
Okay.
Interesting aspect. If I put my information on paper,
yeah,
you now don't need me.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can just ask Rovo for what I know. But I have to put it in there.
This explains a lot about our Confluence.
Why do you think I said gainfully employed on the Jira Live? But think about it from a behavior perspective.
Yeah.
Of an employee who knows that the more I feed the algorithm, the less useful I am.
Whoa, okay. A lot of things inside this part. I mean, it's interesting. You clearly get the point that Alex prefers that Rovo is, or would prefer that Rovo is a personal AI assistant like ChatGPT or Claude with memory and so on, instead of a corporate AI. I can understand the point, but I also see the benefit of the corporate AI stuff. Also, what Alex mentioned here with the documentation, that people stop documenting a lot of their knowledge because they're potentially afraid that they are then can be replaced easier with other persons or automations or agents or whatever. I don't share this. I mean, I work a lot with AI. I pay tons to AI subscriptions and try to improve my workflows. I think we are not in a world where users document too much at the moment. And they will not do it anymore because agents now can reuse it. What I see in organizations, what I see by myself, what I see at Resolution, but also when I chat to customers or partners, is more the other way around. That the knowledge is today often in the heads, in the mind of the people, and not in Confluence, especially the latest version or the newest best practice and so on. And I think all these AI capabilities are now an easy way for me to document all these things. It opens the possibility that I dictate 10 minutes something, get a transcript, ask for a proper structure for a Confluence page, and the Confluence page is generated and I can share it. So I need to read it. So don't get me wrong, you always need to read it. You always need to correct. Most of the stuff what AI generates is 80% correct, 20% wrong. But these 20% are dangerous and risky. And that's where the human comes in. So I think that the new work generation who need to adopt AI completely will love this, also with these corporate aspects. I think the biggest benefit is that Atlassian has also the power, what Alex and Rodney mentioned here with the permission system. The biggest benefit is that Atlassian can do it with permissions. And yes, there will be missing parts. But hey, when I don't have access to this Jira issue or this Confluence in the UI, then I also don't get the information. Why should Rovo now get this information? So means, yes, my Rovo agent, my personal Rovo agent, is maybe just as good as the data where I have access to. But this is exactly what the benefit is, that I don't have agents, let's say like I create an agent to as a normal employee, not in HR, can create an agent. Okay, please give me a daily summary of the pay raises and of the layoffs in the company. That would be a drama. I think here is a benefit of Atlassian, but I think it also leads exactly to how to create agents. So all the templates and so on are super interesting, what Atlassian provides at the moment. But you can't take it out of the box. You need to adjust it to your projects, to your permissions, to your requirements. And that makes it super interesting. So means also a Rovo agent, which maybe works for me as a marketing team, is totally useless for the cloud development team because they have different data, different permissions, and so on. And they can take my as a blueprint or a starting point, can copy and paste it, and can create their own version. Overall, I agree with Alex and Rodney here. It needs time for every employee, and this would be a super hard part that organizations give employees time to adopting this stuff, and not once, no, on a regular basis. So I'm losing already track of my AI tools, what's new and so on, when I'm 1 week in Barcelona on a conference. So now I need to figure out what happened last week. I think nowadays, not for every person, but for a lot of people who could grow their productivity massively with AI tools, it also means they need to adopt and need to learn a couple of hours per week what's new, because the world is so much changing and so quick changing. This leads us to segment number 3. So the pace of change, all the UI stuff, and adoption. So when it comes to these UI updates, adoption, and so on, let's jump in direct into the clip with Rodney and Alex, what their opinion is.
So I actually had a talk with Atlassian about this during a brain date earlier this week. The pace of change, in order to keep up with everything Atlassian puts out and tell our users about it and write the new documentation and do all this, we pretty much have to be exclusively focused on only that part of our job. We're not doing the business analyst part or the evangelist part or all the other things that as an Atlassian admin is part of your job, the training, all the other things. They really need to either slow down the pace or they need to bundle up in like a quarterly release that they absolutely evangelize, say, hey, here's what's happening, here's what's new, make a big production out of it. I'm thinking like mascots and artwork and plushies and swag and t-shirts, and make it an exciting event that says, hey, we're coming out with our 2026 Q1 release. Here's what it is. It's called Monthly Marmoset.
Yeah.
And make it exciting, but that way you still get your features out there, but it's not blindsiding people.
Yeah.
Yeah. My approach is very pragmatic, and I think Atlassian's going to hate me for it, but I think Atlassian should stop.
Huh? Should what?
Should stop doing these updates.
Yeah.
Because you have a corporation that has anywhere between an 18-year-old person to a 75-year-old person working. And yeah, maybe the 18, 19-year-old is bored 20 seconds into the new UI. But these 60, 50, 60, 70-year-old people, every button change, every pixel that you change is another reason why they don't use the tool. And those people have the knowledge. You want those people using your tool. And what breaks my brain is hard. You ask me, what can we do as solution partners? I invest a lot of my time setting up a Jira correctly. Months, thousands of dollars to set it up. And we rework the whole process or the tool to work around your process. And then they don't use it.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart because the moment that tool gets in your way for just a millisecond, you go back to your pen and paper.
Yeah.
And moving buttons around.
Or worse yet, Excel.
Or Excel. moving buttons around, moving things around, changing the experience, changing the name of things. It just confuses and adds friction.
Yeah.
And we have very traditional employees still in corporate, at least in America. We still have very people that are very creatures of habits. They don't know how to do anything beyond 3 steps. And the moment you change the steps on them, have you ever seen A Bug's Life from 1998?
No.
There's a famous Pixar movie, A Bug's Life.
Yeah.
And it was like
It was Pixar's second movie that they made.
Yeah.
It was like the second scene of that movie.
Yeah, it was very early on in the movie, and the ants are gathering harvest, and they're taking the food to where they're gonna do their offering to their overlord, right?
Yeah.
And as they're walking, ants have their trail. A leaf falls.
Yeah.
And the line stops.
Yeah.
And the guy's freaking out. He has no idea what to do because the leaf just fell, and he's like, he cannot see past the flat leaf.
Yeah.
That the trail is still in front, and all he needs to do is go around the leaf.
Yeah.
And so the famous line is the main character comes in and says, you just got to go around the leaf.
Yeah.
Right. But it's impossible for Atlassian to be in every company to tell them you got to go around the leaf. And all they're doing is dropping leaves everywhere.
So I really love the picture from Alex with the Pixar's A Bug's Life. How it illustrates the small change, the leaf, that it can paralyze a whole team or a whole organization. And on one point, you could say that this continuous delivery is a good thing because you are solving a customer problem. Somebody requested this feature. You're solving it as fast as possible. And that's good. That's good for this one customer. But this is maybe not good for the 99 others because they adopt it and they don't need the feature and so on. And what we see in the last 1, 2, or maybe longer years is that this continuous change is overwhelming the Atlassian ecosystem. It's not just the product changes, not just customer, also marketplace vendor solution partners need to continuously adapt these change. There are tons of things what a solution partner need to do, what a marketplace partner need to do, that you easily can be busy the whole year with just doing this stuff. So take the changes, data center end of life. This is combined with a Connect app end of life. So it means every marketplace partner need to go to Forge, and Forge makes totally sense. But 1 year timeline for making apps who grow over years. To do it in 1 year on Forge, where you're still missing capabilities and also performance could be better, are tough plans from Atlassian. And they're doing the same with customers. I mean, they're in enterprise plans, there were already functionalities to delay specific releases. And this will be extended now. They also announced something around this, that you somehow can freeze a version no longer. It was, I don't know it exactly, but I think it was before something with you can freeze a rollout 90 days and you can do it no longer, whatever. But hey, this means an Atlassian team need to check the continuous updates on the cloud environment, need to make the decisions. Should we roll it out? Should we not do it? What is breaking? And so on. So I think what is good in a B2C environment and for smaller organizations, and what looks really, really good on paper, deliver everything what you have immediately, has a lot of good aspects, but it has a lot of downsides. And these downsides are, and that was also what tons of customers reflected to me in the expo hall, they are challenging. They are super challenging, especially for bigger organizations, this continuous change of UI. And I think Alex's point and Rodney's point of that in an organization, there are people who are 18 to 75, and they all need to adopt it. And when you change the UI of one product in this week, and then you add another change on the other week and another change on this, and people can't find their stuff anymore, they start to search a little bit, and faster adapters maybe find a solution quickly. But after a couple of seconds, after a couple of minutes, people stop frustrating and asking other people with the frustration and asking the administrators about the frustration because they don't have the time to find their task in their task management tool. And I think that's what Atlassian is missing here at the moment massively. So that this continuous change gives no chance to customers to adapt all the stuff properly. A huge automotive company said to me, we are still adopting the stuff 2-3 years ago. And which was announced or shipped from Atlassian 2-3 years ago. So they can't think about all the new stuff and so on. And I think, yes, the pace is everywhere in the technology sector. And yes, Atlassian want to have this AI space. They want to be part of the big AI game. And yes, there is continuous shipment necessary when you check on all the changes and all the big AI tools. When you start with OpenAI or Anthropic or Google and so on, they ship immediately when they have improvements. But hey, here we are talking in most of the cases, not yet of organization processes, which involves a couple of thousand people. All these capabilities are used in experiments, in smaller projects, in smaller tasks, in creative tasks, which were anyway relatively autonomous. They are not involved in 50,000 people have a workflow which connects to SAP or other systems. And this workflow was discussed for years and implemented in a huge SAP migration. And now all the buttons changing, flying around and so on. That makes it really, really complicated for the customers. And I think here is, please, Atlassian, when you hear it, I mean, Alex said at some point when I had a wish, I don't know exactly if it was in the interview before, when he had a wish, so every Atlassian developer 2 years vacation and freeze and let's adopt it. I think that's also not right. But doing it somehow in a big quarter release and release it to all customers, because these releases to partially customers and others don't have it, takes the chance away that customer can discuss it. So I discuss very often with partner companies or customers, hey, how are you using this feature, X, Y, Z? And I get so often the answer, oh, we don't have it yet. We are in a different rollout wave. So I think a better way would be maybe not exactly how Apple is doing it, every 1.5 year, one big refurbished layout, buttons changing and so on, and then continuous improvements in between. But maybe do it every 6 months or every quarter if you want, or give people a chance for signing in, for opting in for the pace and do bigger things instead of changing the name of projects to spaces somewhere in the middle of the marathon. That doesn't help anybody. It creates just more confusion and frustration. And this frustration was possible to feel in the expo hall. More a negative part, but as I said, also it has also a lot of benefits. You can see features relatively quick, improvements, maybe bugs are solved and so on. But this is UI updates and adoption. Quality is a huge topic at the moment as well, where a lot of customers had, Atlassian had a better quality in the past as at the moment. So yeah, let's see where this goes. Segment number 4, service collection and customer service management. That was a big thing where I was, to be honest, I was a little bit confused in the beginning. So it was clear something big around JSM is coming, and that JSM, which has today a portal, today omni-channel capabilities and so on, that an additional product will pop up, customer service management, was a little bit of a surprise for me. I mean, I heard something around it. I haven't had the time to dig deeper in the rumors before. So customer service management, short CSM, is new. What is it? As I understand it at the moment, it's a new app. It's delivered with your JSM licenses at the moment. It looks like in the future it will be maybe delivered separate. And the CSM is now more the face to your customer. So the portal to your customer, your omni-channel capabilities to your customer, your AI-powered agent chat to your customer, your conversation to the customer, and so on. So all this so a lot of these stuff existed in JSM so before. This now moves to CSM, customer service management, and will be maintained there. The JSM was more now as these internal things like HR, IT operations, a lot of integrations and so on. Internal services like employee offboarding. So they showed Rovo services there again, also Rovo Ops and so on. It was difficult for me to understand completely the whole picture. They showed a couple of additional things like that now the customer portal can be customized, what is a really good step. There were apps before from Refine, for example, where customers create super individual customer service portal. Atlassian showed that they have also now capabilities to customize the service portal. It need to be tested. So the capabilities looked amazing. The customization, guys, they changed the headline, the color, added text. We are in 2025. That's nothing where I sitting on my chair and say, okay, amazing, they changed the font of the headline. So I need to see it in action. So I don't want to be too early with my judgment with these capabilities. My feeling is it will be a little bit basic potentially in the beginning, and if you want to go more professional, or if you need more customizations, then potentially it's still the point that you go to the marketplace and take really expert apps on all the stuff. Like always a little bit that Atlassian have a commodity, a mainstream functionality, which is useful for all customers. But when you want to stand out a little bit more, then you need to go to the app marketplace, find an app who does more. So that's a little bit my feeling with these visual capabilities and so on. The chat stuff, etc., looked interesting. And it looks like that Atlassian completes their portfolio with all the gaps what they had to other ITSM platforms. And there were tons of gaps. Yeah, and when you look on Zendesk or when you look on these, what's the vendor, Info, I forgot the vendor now, but it starts with Info, is used for a lot of people. They have a calling capability and also really cool chat capabilities and so on. So Atlassian also announced an AWS call-in integration so that you automatically can document calls. You can get calls from your customer or mail channel. You can automatically document them and so on. Interesting. It is super interesting. I think Atlassian bridged a lot of gaps in the ITSM sector here. Why so far organizations, excuse the difficult word, organizations said, okay, I still need this and that for my calls and this maybe for my fax or whatever. So a lot of gaps are closed now, and that's really cool in the customer service management. I think that's also why they put it somehow with a new name, additional name, instead of just an additional feature in JSM. So it is a little bit of rebranding of stuff, what you could already do, a lot of additional things. But let's check what Alex and Rodney is saying to it.
I'm honestly surprised they haven't done it sooner.
Yeah.
It just seems like a natural progression from Jira Service Management.
Yeah. So, but how would you explain when I saw it? Say, okay, customer service management. So how would you explain it to a customer what it is? Because I find it could be also just a feature improvement. I don't know why they made a new product name out of it, because I understand it so far as the channel part of JSM, which existed before in JSN. So they put it now in this customer service management. Yes, there are also more chatbots and so on. But do you get why Atlassian put it as a separate product?
The first thing that comes to mind, and I need to confirm this, I'm still researching all these stuffs in real time as we're discovering about them.
Yeah.
CSM just became generally available yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing a lot of discovery myself, so I don't know this is for sure the truth, but my first thought would be pricing. JSM is, compared to the other Atlassian products, famously expensive.
Yeah.
the cost of an agent is easily like 3 times the cost of a user in any other Jira.
Yeah.
The sole exception there may be Jira Align, which might be pricier still, but it was a famously expensive product. So much so that I always had to fight to upgrade our license for JSM. And that's if I could fight it. So I'm wondering if maybe they tweaked the pricing a little bit because of the type of people who would be using CSM to maybe make it more affordable for those kind of customers. I don't know this for a fact, but that's my first hint. But second, the subset of features you would need for enterprise service management versus customer service management are very different. They're similar, but I think by breaking off, they could have both product lines focus on what is best for their individual customers.
Mm.
So yeah, Rodney shares my view here. He highlights also a little bit the separate point that he thinks CSM will maybe come out in the future as a separate product with a different price point because JSM is relatively expensive. That makes sense. I mean, you have existing players or new players in the whole ITSM world, which starting on a much lower price as Atlassian is doing it. Yeah, maybe it's a strategy. I think overall it's good. I mean, Jira Service Management was in the last couple of years the fastest growing product in Atlassian. And it is a really, really good product, but it's also a complex product. To making two things out of it, to more customer side and maybe internal support, internal services, giving these capabilities is maybe a good plan. But please, Atlassian, don't make it that I have specific features only on one side, and when I want to use the same for internal, then I cut it off, etc. It's sometimes also difficult to make two products instead keeping it of one. I definitely will give it a try. We are using JSM. We are also using the plain portal at the moment. So that's definitely what we want to have. More things, more adjustments. So it looks really, really good. Pricing and deduction, our segment number 5. So I asked Rodney and Alex about what they think how the pricing will change. And let's see the clip first.
All right, I need to preface this because we have to say this every time we say what I'm about to say here.
Yeah.
Atlassian lawyers, this is based off past behavior. I am not using inside knowledge of any sort, nor is Björn. But come on.
Yeah.
Every October, there is a price increase. It is not a prediction, is not a breach of contract or anything.
Yeah.
Inside knowledge to say there's going to be a price increase.
So
in October.
We haven't had the price increase yet.
So we haven't had one yet.
So you're expecting an email coming in the next 3 weeks?
I would be shocked if there isn't. It would be the first time in probably 4 years
they
have not done the October price increase.
Yeah.
So, I mean, including the disclaimer from Rodney, which makes totally sense. Yes, it was in the last years always somewhere at the end of the year, mainly in October, the announcement of a price increase. There was nothing so far till this recording. I haven't seen anything. Maybe something will come. I think, and that was also the point what I got from a lot of customers and partners in the expo hall. The continuous price changes from Atlassian are a challenge. It's not just price changes, it's continuous increase of the price. And when they announced in Anaheim that Rovo is now included in every user, and before their calculation was $20 to $25 per user, and it was necessary to license all users on Rovo, with the knowledge that maybe not 100% adopting all the Rovo capabilities, which is the case for all products, that nobody is using 100% of the features or capabilities. Most users use just a tiny part of it. coming up with a price of $20 to $25 1.5 years ago. Then the announcement in Anaheim that Rovo is now, or was it in Barcelona last year? I can't remember exactly anymore. Yeah, I think Barcelona last year, that Rovo is now available for everybody in the standard license. So means premium enterprise license standard later, and now the announcement, yeah, it's in standard. So means I'm putting $25, which were in all users before, separate licenses in the existing products. I had already continuous price changes. I don't need to be a magician to figure out where the price will go in the future. I mean, in software, it's very, very often that as soon a product or a service is commodity, that it's getting cheaper and cheaper. But this is so far not the case, how I understand it. That's my personal opinion. That's so far how I understand it, not so much the case for AI companies. But because when I take parallel to the Atlassian Team 25 was also the Open AI Development Conference. And they shared some data there, so give it a try. Check it out. It's on YouTube. I don't have the exact data, but they shared the costs per request. And when I check, for what I use ChatGPT in some cases, because it's better as Googling it, or faster, or it's a combination of 2-3 things. But in some cases, I ask complete easy peasy things. And they shared the cost of this and also the carbon footprint and so on. There are a lot of things which are bad on all these requests. But let's ignore this for the moment. The point what I want to do here is that every customer request generates costs, or every user requests. And as more I use it, it generates more costs in Atlassian. And from the original plan to have as a most expensive Atlassian product available when Rovo had a price by themselves, and now pricing it in every existing license, on some point, these maths need to be positive for Atlassian. And I agree here with Rodney's point a little bit. I think we will see increasing pricing. And the interesting point is when you combine it, especially with the adoption part before. So that's where Atlassian need to be super careful, because people are slow at the moment. Customers are slow with adopting all the stuff. So when I'm just using 10%, and I had a customer who really said to me, hey, I'm using it since many, many years. I'm a customer since over 10 years. But it is in our organization, our task management tool, and it will stay as a task management tool. So, and they are not willing anymore to pay a price. They started from $30,000 many, many years ago on server, and they now over $300,000 for an environment for 1,000 to 2,000 users. I don't know the exact numbers. And this is a challenge. I had so many customers which discussed the user management and license optimizer app with us. And the whole demand, which was on our booth for this application to figure out who is not using the license, who is not adopting the license, and then to making plans for deactivating the user when it's not using it since over months, a product, etc. There's a huge demand. And this shows me that customers searching for these challenges. And I had so many customers that came to us, thank you, Björn, thanks for your app, that our Atlassian bill is now back under 7 million, under 2 million, under 70 million, huge organizations, because we helped them to find all the lazy users, or who are not using the stuff or not adopting the features and so on. That's a challenge. And I think that's a challenge for Atlassian, where these points can, I'm not saying it will happen, but it can break on some point. And we are seeing these breaks in a complete different industry at the moment, in the movie streaming industry. And the movie streaming industry, they went a different way to the music streaming industry. On the music streaming industry, it's not so important if you use Apple Music or Spotify or YouTube Music or whatever. You're getting 95% similar content on all platforms. As a user, I need one of them in most of the cases for consuming the stuff, for getting the value. And the movie industry increased the pricing massively, and they decided to have a totally friction in what they deliver, how long they deliver, and so on. There are studies that in United States, average family needs, I don't know the exact numbers, but it was something like 4 or 5 subscriptions when the kids want to show the same stuff what other people's in the class are watching. So, and in parallel, they also increased the price. So what happened? The movie industry refurbished, reinvented the need of movie piracy. So they made it too complex for a customer, less service, and what they have now are cloud services, pirate cloud services with a better service on a better cost, and you can see all the stuff as long you want. So relatively simple from a product perspective. They increased it too heavy and delivered at the same time not a good service that customers found that is not valuable for me. And I'm not saying start now to find a way to have Jira on a Pirate Bay or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. But I think when you heard the points from Alex and Rodney and also the adoption challenges and so on, and the continuous price increases, which happened on data center and also on cloud, that's a challenge. That's a challenge for a lot of organizations, especially in the actual time where economy is also struggling in a lot of regions in the world. So I totally agree with the point, and that's more a plea to Atlassian. Atlassian, please be careful with that. Don't create what the movie industry did. And yes, you can compare it with, you can't really compare it and so on, but at the end, it's value against costs. And from an Atlassian perspective, you maybe say, yeah, but I delivered this and that and that and that. But for a lot of customers, they can't take the pace to adopting this. Or they need to invest a lot of time and money to adopting all this stuff to figure out, is there a value for me in it? Which makes it more expensive. I mean, it's not the couple of dollars per user. The user who's using it is way more expensive. But at the end, it's about the value behind. Can the organization create value out of it? That they say, yes, I'm paying 20% more for Atlassian every year or 15 or whatever, but I'm also increasing my productivity with these tools every year 30, 40%. That would be an amazing outcome. I think that are also a little bit my final thoughts, and let's close it now. I think Atlassian made really, really good announcements at these Team 25 in Barcelona. I think these natural steps in AI, what they showed, the workflows, the use cases, all the capabilities are amazing. But they need to work, and quick and as soon as possible, and so on. Customers need to adopt it, need to find the time, the way how to adopt all the stuff. And I think it reaches a heavy complexity already, that it's super difficult also for Atlassian ecosystem people to follow this rule on the same pace. And when they're adopting it and so on, they need to create or use these tools to create additional value to fulfill their meaning of their organization to their customers. And it is important, I think, to also look on these end-to-end value streams and also let's take just an example, the European or the German or European automotive industry has an enormous pressure of digitalization, of electromobility, and deliver this to a much cheaper price to compete with Asian produced products, China produced cars and so on. So means their income, their revenue is going down at the moment. At the same time, they're increasing heavily the amount of users who need to use tools like this. So when they getting expensive as hell, then potentially these companies will also have a hard time to be successful. At the end, Atlassian can be only successful when all the customers are successful. We saw in the last 12 months, I think, on some numbers already decrease. In general, marketplace users licensed, etc. There is a decrease. Cloud customers using less apps on cloud as on data center. This has tons of different reasons, but one reason of this is also price and expecting that all the cool functionalities which they had on data center with apps should be now in the base package in cloud. We will see, but dear Atlassian, your customers have price pressures. You should know it. So I think it was an amazing event. I think it was one of the best ones of the teams, especially the amount of customers, visitors, partners, the discussions were super valuable. I really liked the announcements besides the data center end of life. I'm not a fan of it. I was more the hybrid future wish list person, but it's gone. My personal takeaway is I need to spend now a lot of time on all these AI capabilities, and I will share it in additional videos in this podcast. And that will be also a little bit the point, not just Atlassian AI tools, also other AI tools in the future, plus these discussions, what we had in the podcast in the past, that I'm showing it in this format of longer running videos, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, deep dive, deep discussions, deep thoughts. And thank you very much for hearing this podcast and enjoy all the new Atlassian features. And I really would love to hear your thoughts on it. Put it on your platform in the comments or give me a ping on LinkedIn or other social networks. Thanks a lot and have an amazing day. Bye.